Hi, I'm Sheen, and welcome back to the shop. Today I'm working on finishing up a built-in desk, and I'm on the phase where I'm building the drawers, so I thought I would cover some cabinet construction basics by showing you how to use the Festool system to build some drawers. We're going to use the Domino DF500 joiner to make some through dominoes. In the first part I'll show you how to make the dominoes. We can use stock dominoes, but I want a contrasting look on the side of the drawers because these are going to show. So I'll show you how to make that out of some scrap we have. And then I'll move on and show you how to cut the dominoes with the domino joiner and assemble the drawers. Lastly, we're going to build some applied drawer fronts to match the beaded face frame that I have going on this built-in desk. Alright, let's get started. So for step one, I'm going to go ahead and start making some dominoes. Now usually I don't advocate making dominoes, it's just far cheaper and more simple to buy the stock dominoes. But for this project, since we're making the drawers out of Baltic birch ply, it's going to be a lot more elegant to use a contrasting wood since the dominoes will be seen from the drawer sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the scraps. This is walnut scrap I used for the project. It was surfaced to about 20 millimeters thick, which happens to be about the width of the domino anyways. This is a 5 millimeter by 30 millimeter domino. And you'll notice here that it's about the same width. Now if you don't happen to have scrap that's the right thickness, you can use a bandsaw to cut it down, because cutting a little strip like this on a table saw is kind of dangerous. You gotta use a lot of feather boards too. I just prefer doing it on a bandsaw. Plus the width isn't super critical of the domino as long as it'll fit in the hole and the glue will fill in the little gaps that will exist. So we'll cut this to about 18 millimeters, and then when we round off the edges it'll be perfect. For me, by far the easiest way to make this cut is to do it on the bandsaw. If you had thicker scrap like this one here, you could cut it on a table saw and take the 5 millimeters from the offcut side, but you'll have to be fiddling with the fence continuously and you might not always get the right thickness. Then you'll have to run it through a drum sander. So what I like to do is use a bandsaw with a resaw fence and a high quality resaw blade. What I've got here is a 3/4 inch wood slicer blade from Highland Woodworking, and I highly recommend this blade. It'll enable you to take the exact thickness you need pretty much without any sanding required, and make sure that your fence is properly adjusted for the drift on the blade. All bandsaw blades will drift. It's just making sure that your fence is parallel to that direction of that drift so that you can run your stock in that direction. I also like to use a high quality feather board. This one's magnetic, so I can adjust it as needed, and I will need to adjust that. And this will keep the stock nice and flat against the resaw fence. The surface of this cut is very smooth right off the saw, and we don't have to do any sanding here. I'm just going to make sure that thickness is consistent all throughout. And this is pretty darn good. So we'll go ahead and move forward with rounding the edges. Alright, I've got an 1/8 inch round over bit chucked up here. And when you cut the full depth of this bit, you should be able to pretty much approximate the curvature on the domino. So I'm going to use the CMS and make the cut. I've got the feather board set up so that it'll keep the stock nice and flush against this fence. Now with the routing done, it's time to cross-cut our domino stock to length. I'm going to use the length of 20 millimeters. That's going to leave us 12 millimeters of mortise depth in our drawer sides. They're 1/2 inch drawer sides. And about 8 millimeters or so in the fronts and backs. Now, in my opinion, that's enough for strength. We'll be using 3 of these in the drawers. That'll hold it up very nicely. So word on safety, what I'm going to do here is set up an auxiliary fence. This auxiliary fence will help support the piece here. It's a little short piece, right? So since the blade is spinning into the saw fence, I don't want this to fly off in the middle of nowhere and ricochet off something into my face. So having something here to support it is essential for safety. So I'm just going to take a piece of scrap here. It's parallel, and very important because you want the ensuing cut to be square. And I'll just cut through it as usual. And once that is done, that cut will show us where the cut line will be. So our auxiliary fence is all done. Just make sure that this piece that is supporting the cut is clamped down. This piece can float, not such a big deal. Now I've got this marked off for my 20mm, so all I have to do each time is just push these pieces up to here, to that line, and that will be the exact position of the cut. And I'm stacking 3 of these to cut together at once. Just saves a lot of time to do it that way, especially if you got a lot of pieces to make.